The next kind of sequential content I'm going to talk about, you may think, I'm not sure how I can use this, characters, but especially by the time I get to the end of this, where I show an actual example, I think you'll change your mind. Most of us are used to characters as icons. They sell us things. They sell us car insurance. They sell us snack food. They stand at the foot of our bed with whoppers terrifying us in the night. And they sell us breakfast cereal. The Trix Rabbit is kind of interesting because there is a little bit of sequential content involved with the Trix Rabbit if you think about it. Even to this day, not that I've seen a Trix commercial, if one popped up, I'd look, no matter what I'm doing, to see if the rabbit finally got a bowl of Trix. That's sequential content, if you think about it. It's those little things. Most of us, though, when it comes to characters where sequential content comes in, we think of cartoon characters. Interesting thing about this slide, the youngest characters are right here, and they're over 20 years. That's long enough for a generation to pass down their love to their children. And again, think about the content you're creating. Is it something that people would pass down to their children? If you're trying to sell a product, is that product something that's going to have a lasting effect? Is it going to change your children's life? Is it something you can give them? Where a lot of people have started using characters online, webcomics. I don't know if we have many artists in here. I knew, just kind of looking at some of the people who show up, I know that a few people are interested. And even if you don't have any desire to do a webcomic, you could still learn something from this, because look at the way they're delivered. You go to the page, and right there at the very top, everything that you're there for is right there. So many times I go to a site and I don't know what I'm really looking at. The way it's laid out, the sequence in it is just like a Jackson Pollock painting. It's scattered everywhere. I love this simply because it's right there at the top. And if you are deciding that, hey, I'm going to do a webcomic, WordPress does handle that in the form of plugins and themes. This case, the webcomic and strip show are plugins, just ways to extend WordPress. Or if you want to go totally all out, the Comic Press theme allows you to totally change the way that your page looks. And of course, you can customize everything. It's a very, very powerful thing. Frequency is another kind of sequential content you may not really think too much about, but it is a sequential type of sequential content. There are sites out there that are popular because, yeah, they do talk about cool things, but if I'm bored during the day, if I go to Lifehacker, Boing Boing, or Gizmodo and hit refresh, chances are there's going to be something new there. Every single time, almost, I go and click refresh. It's that frequency. It's something I've seen with my blog when I've done a week-long series. When instead of just doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do something every day of the week. Or last December, I decided I'm going to post something every single day this month, even on the weekends. And I saw a big spike in my traffic during that month. Now maybe you're thinking, I don't have the ability to produce such frequent content because I'm just one person or somebody with a small group of people. But people are doing it. In this case, we have Gary Vaynerchuk, who took over his father's wine business, started putting videos up every day pretty much, and he just recently finished his 1,000th episode. He's become a bit of his own little media empire. Chris Brogan, social media guru, you go to his site, every day he posts something new. I'm a big fan of the Nerdist podcast. In this case, I go there. I know that at least once a week, I'm going to get to hear an interview with some creative person, and I'm just going to hear the hosts cutting up 2 episodes a week. It's something that I can depend on. Any of these things on the screen, I can go to and find something new. Ask yourself, are you creating something at a frequent pace? If you are, you've probably seen some of the benefits of that. And if you're just putting stuff out randomly, challenge yourself. Just maybe it's 2 or 3 months from now, but pick a schedule, even if it's just 2 or 3 times a week, and stick with it and see what happens. It can be tough to manage frequency, especially if you're doing a lot of stuff. And this is my favorite plugin for managing frequent content. Editorial Calendar is a great plugin. Like any other plugin, you just install it and it's ready to go. And what it does, in your dashboard view, it gives you a calendar view. And you can just pick a date, and from there, you can start roughing out an entry. Whether it's a blog entry, something you're selling, you're thinking about how you're going to show notes for a podcast, whatever, you have the ability to do that all right there on one screen. The way I like to use it, when a new month comes up, I could see a blank month before me. And I could just start thinking, I can look through notebooks and just take ideas and say, you know, on this date, I want to talk about whatever. And I open it up, I come up with a rough title, I put enough content down that to remind myself when that comes along later in the month what I'm doing, and I can move on. But then let's just say I have everything all laid out, and some breaking news comes along, and I need to move this. I just click on it and drag it, and start something new here. It's a very effective way of managing your content, and if you put stuff out frequently, I highly recommend the editorial content plugin. The last kind of sequential content I'm going to talk about is just good old-fashioned good writing. Tony mentioned I'm a tech writer. I'm a dyslexic tech writer. It took me so many, just sometimes, and maybe you've picked up on it, sometimes just the way my thoughts work, I have a hard time even getting words out when I'm talking like this. But I'm okay with that because I practiced. I was put in learning disability classes for it, and I got better. And I became fascinated with writing, I think, because I saw the sequence in it, and I realized if I can figure that out, I can pretty much do whatever I want to do. Anybody in here has the ability, no matter what you're doing, to break your writing up online in a very easily digestible form. Begins with a headline. What's going to get people reading this? Well, if I say this is the best productivity tip I know, a lot of people are going to be interested. Then I have a little bit of an introduction discussing why or what's coming up. And then I break it up with subheadings and smaller pieces of body content. Finally, at the end, I have a conclusion. It's a very simple formula, and whatever you're doing, even if you're doing video, the way that you lay your video out, she's not here today, but see, I have problems sometimes with my sequence. But with GeekBeat TV, think about the way that that's laid out. Think about any video or anything that you follow regularly. Think about the structure. And if it's something you go back to, chances are there is a flow. And if it's something that's just random, chances are you're not going to keep going back because it's difficult to digest. Everybody could do this. And even if you don't want to do anything huge online, all you want to do is have a blog with your personal thoughts. WordPress covers that. There's just a little section where you go, you can add images if you want, and it's at its most basic, a very simple interface that even I was able to figure out. There are some things down the line, which is why this whole group exists, but if all you're wanting to do is get something out there, WordPress is great for it. And depending on the theme, it'll even help people find your stuff, because many themes have SEO capabilities built in, search engine optimization. You go down to these little sections, you can put in meta tags, whatever, and it's going to help people find what you're doing. Personally, I think the best way you can have people find what you're doing is create really rich content, but every little thing helps. The best productivity tip is one of my biggest recurring things that people check out. And when I wrote that headline, I did think SEO. But the bigger thing is the queries that worked. And I was so new, I didn't even think about SEO when I came up with that headline. So, it's just a matter of making content that you love.